Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today we have Michelle Edhouse with us. Thank you for jumping on, Michelle.
Hi, well, I'm so grateful to be here.
I'm so grateful you're here. So, Michelle, you have two boys at home, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you also you parent quite uniquely. So that's why I really wanted to chat to you today, because I've watched a whole lot of your stuff. You're all over YouTube. You've got a whole lot of videos on all sorts of topics. And your parenting is something, you've on my Mum's Time to Shine interview series as well. But your parenting has really intrigued me. And as I've been on my own kind of journey and stuff as well, I've been watching you and been like, wow, this is so cool. So today, guys, we wanted to jump on and have a talk to you about how we now in this kind of generation can parent to our own abilities and not have to hold on to the past ways of parenting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as you say, I do parent a lot different to many people that I know. The way I was brought up was from a lot of judgment. I was brought up from a space where my parents immigrated from England the year before I was born, and they were brought up in lower middle class, upper lower class, and there's so much judgment in all of that, and so much expectations and projections of what you need to do to get ahead, what your child should be like, how they should behave, all that stuff. And they functioned how they knew to function as parents. And that's not, I'm not saying this from a judgment of them, but it's from, we all have our own backgrounds as to how we were parented and what that looked like, what that created for us. And when we become parents, it's like, oh, I'm a parent now. And how many of you have gone, oh, that must mean I now have a clean house, I cook dinner every night, I feed my children healthy food, and I always look good when I'm in town so that people judge me as a good mother.
It just reminds me of my mum always putting on eyeshadow before she went to town, and now I'm like, oh, I must look this way. I better put some eyeshadow on. Thanks, Mum.
It can be as simple as that. My mother would never have been seen in, because we owned an orchard when I was right the way through my teens, basically. We had an orchard, and Mum would never have gone into town dressed in her orchard clothes. She'd go inside, get cleaned, get your clean clothes on, and I was just like, oh wow, that's a lot of work. So how many points of view have we all got about what being a good parent actually is, that came from observing other people, and not just our own parents? Maybe you observed your grandparents parenting your parents. Maybe you observed your aunts and uncles or the other parents at school. And how much of that are you now bringing into your parenting? One of the things that I choose is to actually look at everything that I'm choosing as a parent and go, is this actually creating what I desire to create with regards to my kids? Is it actually creating what I desire to create with regards to me? I mean, some of those things that my mother used to do, she didn't iron undies, but we ironed our sheets for the bed. It's,
I don't know how they found time to do that kind of thing. I don't iron at all. It's not that fun for me, so I choose not to.
Me too. And that's one of the things that I chose to do different. And that how much of what people are trying to do to change the parenting that they're doing is doing something differently rather than actually doing it different. And one of the things that I remember Gary Douglas said to Brendan Watt in a class one time was, what if you were to parent your children as you should have been parented? So, look at how were you parented and did it work for you? And so that's what I try to do with my kids when I'm parenting them. Both of them are very different. I've got a 16-year-old who's just quit school when everybody thought he was going to go on and become a doctorate, and one who everyone sort of put on the back burner because he has Asperger's and didn't start speaking till he was sort of 3, 4, and all those sorts of developmental things that some people judge as being a slow learner. He's not a slow learner. He's an amazing being. He just learns different. Not different. Again, there's that difference in terms. And so I recognise I actually need to parent them both different to each other. And both of them need to be parented different to how I was parented. So it's something I like to invite other parents to do, is actually look at, if you choose to parent that way, what will that create? What will your life and your children's life be like in 5 years if you parent that way? And what will your life and your children's life be like in 5 years if you parent that way? Or what else is possible? What haven't you even seen done before that would work? So,
yeah. I mean, the thing is with our parenting is we do have this past and like intergenerational thing where it's our grandparents, and like I was saying to you just before this, my grandma was pregnant with 4 children at my age. She was pregnant. She had 4 children. She didn't have 4 children. She had 4, and then she was pregnant with 1, and her husband died before she knew she was pregnant. She had no time. This is in between the wars. She would have been like, this was like 1936. In between the wars, just came from Switzerland, and she didn't speak any English, or very little. But what happened was when he died, because there was no OSH then, so they couldn't, it was just dangerous kind of farm work. What actually happened was she didn't have time to grieve. She had to carry on, and what has happened is it's come down the generations where my life felt a lot of grief, and the parenting style, because she had to be a certain type of parent, she had to show up for survival. So the eldest, which was my grandmother, had to go out to work and all this type of jazz at an early age. And so what has happened is it's gone all the way down, and then I've gone, hang on. This isn't my story. And being very intuitive, I can actually kind of tap into a lot of different things and actually talk to these energies and go, what is this? What do I require? Who do I require? And I start playing. I start going, oh my goodness. I start perceiving energy, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And exactly what you said, Michelle, who am I being? Like, I don't know the exact words you said, but you were saying, what kind of parent am I being? Does this fit into what I want to do? And the perfect example is this morning, my daughter, she's in the mirror, and I go up to her and I go, what are you doing, Adelie? She's 6 years old, and she looks at me, and I went, wow, those eyelashes are looking extra lovely and dark. Wow. And I went, did you put makeup on? And she looked at me, and I had this tiny little black dot, which gave it away as well. And I went, wow. And I thought, what do I do right now? And I tapped into me, and I went, you are fantastic at putting on makeup. I am actually blown away. Maybe you should be a makeup artist, because girl, you're gifted. And she was just like, wow, thanks, Mum. I was like, oh, do you have foundation on too? And she had done the blush and I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. And then I was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to wipe it off. It was perfect. Like, this kid is actually gifted. But I was like, I have to wipe it off, because if you go to school with makeup, then the teacher will tell me off. But I just want to let you know, I am so proud of you. In the future, do you think you could just ask me before you use my makeup though? And she was just like, okay, Mum. But right then and there, I changed a situation which could have been judgment. How dare you touch my stuff? And really gone into massive amounts, which would have done stuff to her in the future.
Absolutely.
So huge, and that's what I do as well. I'm just like you in the aspect of I choose to parent how I want to. The other thing I really wanted to talk to you about as well is it's not just this, our grandparents and stuff, like you were saying, society. And a lot of my clients, I'm a life coach and a facilitator and do all sorts of stuff. They have issues around society and what their peers think, what the teachers think. And they come to me, they come into my little studio and they go, I feel like I've got to make a choice. Do I choose my knowing, which seems to be against everything else, or do I go with society? And I never give them the answer. I always say, I know what I chose, and I'd never turn back. What is light for you? So that those tools that we use and access, light and heavy, is the basis of the way I will live, really.
Yeah. And one of the things that I have found, and I know that it's happened to you, is that people like to tell us their truth, what they think is the right or wrong, the good or bad, and what they think you should be doing as a parent, and what they think, what they would have done if they were in your situation, or all of those sorts of things. Like Aiden, my eldest, he's 16. As I said, he's so intelligently gifted. He, quite easily could go on and do doctorate stuff, but he's not interested in anything that you can get a doctorate in. And at this point in his life. And so he can't see the point in staying at school. So he quit school, end of first term this year. He quit school and, hullabaloo that created in people's worlds was absolutely hilarious. And I just looked at it and I was like, I actually asked him, so what will your life be like in 5 years if you quit school? And he's like, And what will your life be like in 5 years if you don't quit school? And both of us, it was just like the whole world just came down on our shoulders when we asked that question. So I was like, I have no idea what you're going to choose, long term, short term. I just know that it's lighter for you not to be at school. Now, who knows what that's creating? Who knows what he's avoided by not being at school? That if he had stayed at school, it would have created stuff. But the societal judgments that I was aware of in my world, the very idea of leaving school before you finished 7th form or year 13, whatever you want to call it, when I was at school was such a wrongness, and you were a dropout and you were a blah, 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 blah. And I looked at those judgments and I listened to all the people, including my mum and everyone else, when we mentioned that Aiden was leaving school, and was like, wow, aren't they interesting points of view? What makes anybody's point of view more valid than Aiden's knowing that it doesn't work for him to be at school?
Yeah, can you feel that? I can see static now, because that's what everyone else, you guys watching, how do you feel right now? Because right now I've got all this bubbling and it's going up my body to the top of my rib cage, and I'm like, I feel like I'm going to be sick. Because, that happened to me, that happened to, it's those projections of what people think you should be. And, like for me, I knew I probably wouldn't be a doctor, but, Aiden had projections that he probably should be. And then my dad said, you should be in a trade, because that's what you need to do. I got told you can't sing, so you won't be a singer. You're not that bright, so you should probably go for something with your hands, and all these different things. And my parents were trying to do the very, very best for me. But what it actually did is it extremely limited me. And I just had the awareness last week that the reason why I failed every exam at school was because I'd already failed before I had even tried. And it wasn't because I was dumb, but I watched a thing yesterday, a video about two classes, Class A and Class B, and they just randomly put these kids into these different groups. And the kids, they went back like a year later or whatever, the kids in the group B failed, like compared to the kids in group A, because they thought that B were meaning they weren't as good as the A's. So there was no difference between the children. So I, even, you know, bless my parents, but I didn't really have a chance. If someone said, you're intelligent, you're bright, you're clever, and you can choose whatever you want, you know, and that's what you've done for Aiden. And he said, Mum, I choose not to be at school. And you said, high five, your decision. And it's these other people's projections that make you go into that judgment of, oh, you know, it's so interesting.
You know what? It's not about making them wrong for their projections, their expectations, their judgments. It's about you being willing to be aware, notice when they are projecting or expecting or judging you or your actions or your parenting or anything like that, and go, wow, interesting point of view, they have that point of view. And that way you don't buy it as real. Pile it on top of you like an elephant dumping it from underneath its tail. You just go, oh, okay. And
thank you.
It's one of the biggest things that I found with parenting was the who does it belong to tool. I don't know if you've talked about this much on your channel, but the who does it belong to tool from Access Consciousness creates so much more ease. Every thought, feeling, and emotion that goes through your head, just ask, who does this belong to? Is it mine? Or is it someone else's? Sometimes you've heard it so often and you've bought it as if it is yours, but it actually never was in the first place. You just bought it as yours. Return it all to sender with consciousness attached. Just give back all of that judgment and projections and expectations and go, truth. What do I know?
What do I know? That's so important, because, you know, when I have people that I adore and I look up to, which that's another story, but when I look at people and I go, wow, you know, you're amazing, and then they say something to me that I think, far out, and then all of a sudden I feel smaller. So I go, I don't feel expanded and light and amazing. I feel tiny, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm like 5 again. And the funny thing is, if it's a real crazy thing and it could be a life-changing thing, I always ask the question, is this true? And like what I do when I was talking about the light and heavy before is the expansive for me, that is light. And like that contracted small feeling, that's heavy. So that's a no for me. So everything I choose in life, and a lot of people think I'm a little bit crazy, especially my parents, because they look at me and go, what are you doing? But I know what I'm doing because I'm going daily with what's light and expansive. And, you know, today I listened to one of your videos, Michelle. It was amazing. It was about creating your reality and stuff. And you were actually saying, what would it take for you to feel expansive all the time? And I thought, oh my gosh, I gave myself a pat on the back, because you know what? 99% of the time I feel expansive and light. And no one's perfect. We go through lots of different things, but you parents who are watching this, you know, like Michelle said, who does this belong to? It goes a lot deeper than just saying the question. It actually goes through layers and layers and layers. And today we want to help you energetically shift some of the generational stuff, the society, what society thinks about you, and to put you first and then your family, because none of the other crap matters. If you imagine that life is your own movie that you've created, everyone else is just characters. So who cares about them? You know, it's your family and you that's actually creating the movie. And if you put those characters first, they're just going to go home with their pay and live their little lives, and it's like the Truman Show. Sorry, totally just got a bit too passionate and into that, as you were saying.
And it's so true. Like the airlines have got it right. Put your mask on first. Give yourself the oxygen. Give yourself the space. Give yourself the awareness, and then you can be the contribution to the others. If you're sitting in that pile of muck that is called society and family expectations, how much ease and joy and glory can you contribute to your children's lives? How much ease and joy and glory can you invite them to? If you climb out of that crap and you actually, rinse yourself off and go swimming in that nice, bright, clear pool next door instead of the pile of poo that you've been brought up in, then you can say to your kids, hey guys, look what else is possible, and what other pools are you aware of that you could swim in that are even cleaner than my pool? So, analogies front and centre here.
That's perfect though. I'm visual, so I'm seeing all these crispy pools. And the thing is as well, like you said, I love when you said before, with your parents and the people that are projecting on you, it's not to go into judgment, but judgment and awareness. This has also been a huge thing recently. When people think they're judging all the freaking time, they're like, I'm so judgmental. No, you're not. You're probably just aware. So, like, literally, I'm looking at my parents. The more awareness that I create with doing access consciousness and these tools that we're teaching you right now is I look and I go, oh my gosh, my mum did her very, very best with the tools she had. She never hit me. She sometimes dumped some emotional baggage on me, but that's because that was more of a survival thing. And then her mum before that was a busy farmer, and then her mum before that she had all those children and was pregnant, and her husband died. But no one has had any time because they've all been in survival mode. But now I've got to me, and I'm 35. I've got 2 beautiful children, and I look at them and go, wow, I am not in survival mode. So now I can stop pretending I am. And I can actually start choosing for myself, sort out my body, and sort out my shit so my children can be okay. They may still have some stuff, like you said, the water's not completely crisp. But at the end of the day, I can turn up. And guys, don't kind of think that by feeding your kids perfectly at a certain time, by making sure their clothes are great, by giving them all these options, by making sure they go to bed and have their probiotics and their jabs, all these different things, don't be misguided to think that's great parenting. Because sometimes great parenting is saying, guys, are you hungry? And they might go, yes, I am. You go, great. What do you feel like eating? Because I coach so many mums that go, and at this time they have this and this and this and this and this, and I'm constantly like this, but I'm being like the best mum ever. And I'm like, no, because all they give a shit about is you sitting there and being with them. And that means mama has to be at the top. And I'll say it 10,000 times so everyone hears me. Mum has to be okay. So before I came on here, I went and meditated. Did I cook dinner? No. Because if I'm not okay, then my kids aren't. They don't give a shit what they have for dinner. We have to really look after us. It's so important.
Absolutely. And, for everybody's different what looking after you is. At the moment, my self-care is making myself beautiful clothes that fit me and make my body go, ah. And for me, that is my self-care. And sometimes, sewing can be quite meditative if you want to look at it from that perspective. Other times I'm filling my head with history documentaries or listening to access consciousness classes or whatever I'm doing in the background. But I'm contributing to me. I can go to my wardrobe and go, what is it I actually desire to wear today? What colours do I want to be wearing? What textures do I want to have on my body? And have clothes that actually fit me. If you haven't met me before, I'm quite a busty girl, but I've got a size 8 rib cage and waist.
Wow.
Now,
You look great in a corset then, a sexy corset.
That's why I had a medieval wedding dress.
Oh, yes, you did.
So, the clothes that you buy in a shop just do not fit me. I can make them fit, but they're just not, they're not joyful for my body. So what is joyful for you? Maybe it is sitting getting your nails done. My nails have got paint under them because I'm an artist. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just leave the paint on the nail and call it, oh, this is my new do. But what is fun for you? Is it going out and painting? Is it going and getting your hair done? Is it, sitting in front of the fire with a cup of tea, reading YouTube, reading Facebook? Maybe that is what's a gift to you. And then when you've had that moment in time, go, right, recharge. Now what? So what is it that everybody says that you shouldn't be doing that would actually be a gift to you and your body and your kids? If you I've got a girlfriend and she says to her kids, look, go and play in your room. And they're like, why? Mummy needs to be put in timeout. And they go, oh, okay, Mum, you're in timeout for a while. And they know that to them means that she gets left alone, because they know that when they're put in timeout, they get left alone. And she gets to sit down, have a cuppa. She smokes, so she goes and has a cuppa, a cigarette, and reads some of her book for 15 minutes. She comes back refreshed and able to deal with the stuff. So for you, that's your time out. And are you actually putting yourself in time out often enough?
Yeah, sometimes for me, at one stage I had insomnia and I was going through a really hard breakdown, burnout, I should say. And so I had to meditate a lot. But now my thing is I get up at 6 every day, 5:30, and I run. And do you know how expensive and how people go, oh, I could never run. That's bullshit. You can, because I never thought I could. But you know what? Running and walking and exercising for me makes me feel so, so expensive. It connects me spiritually, but also it makes me a really good mum, because I've done me and I always do me before I do anyone else. And I know it sounds crazy, but you're not being a great mum for your kids if you're putting them first, because you can't show up. So to be the best mum you can be, you say, okay, what do I require? Am I okay? Like obviously you don't want naked little children that are hungry running around. You've got to make sure that they're fed and they've got clothes on. But other than that, that's just survival. Other than that, to really thrive, your children are going to look up to you and they're going to thank you for you choosing for you. You can still tap into them, but when you're choosing for you, you're aware. So you can go, how are my kids? Oh, they're great. And you're like, wow, how did I know that? Because you're okay.
So that takes us to another topic that I absolutely love talking about, and that is the kingdom of we. When you're actually creating your reality from a space that works for everyone. So, if say, for example, your husband was out of town on business for the day and he had to stay overnight and there was no adults in the house, would you get up and go out and go for your run in the morning?
No.
It's at home.
Because that's not okay.
So, but you would create something that worked for all of you. Perfect. And how many of us, are told you must behave like this, you must do it like this. And you're like, but that's not going to work for me. Oh, but that's not going to work for my youngest son. Or that's not going to work for my husband. But then it's projected that that's what you're supposed to do. Well, what if you were to look at it and go, what would that create? Oh, that's not the energy of what I desire to be living. That's not the energy of how I desire to be running my life. Because when you look at what it is you desire for your life, it includes everyone in it. And as the infinite being that you be, you can't actually not include anybody. So when you're creating the reality that you desire to live, you're also creating that from a place that's contributing to others. And, you know, that whole analogy from the airplane, put your mask on first and then you can help others. It's not put your mask on first and then laugh at everyone else struggling.
Yeah.
It's put your mask on first and then contribute to the others. And it may be that you sitting there doing nothing is a contribution because they'll get their own mask on faster. It may be that you picking up your bag and getting it out of the way is a contribution that they can then, when time comes to exit the plane, they can get off safely. It may look like you're doing only for you. I'm picking up my bag and I'm putting on my mask. And blah, blah, blah. No, it's a contribution. When you're willing to function from creating as the contribution to everyone by creating your life as you desire it, the change is just so dynamic and it's so much more fun as well to live from that space. And we call it, in Access Consciousness, we call it the kingdom of we. You're not functioning from the kingdom of me, 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 me. I actually had a perfect example of this. What day was it? Sunday. Yesterday. Oh, crikey.
You've been busy today.
Well, I work from home. I run 4 different businesses from home. And one of those businesses is building websites. And I had spent all day yesterday building a website for a local jeweler in town. And what I love doing that stuff. Once I start, it's like, oh, and I could do this. Oh, what if I created like this? And it just turns me on. It's like so exciting. And so I'd been doing that all day. And the kids had been doing what was fun for them, which was playing computer games and watching YouTube. And at some point during the afternoon, I started to get a bit antsy about the fact that they've been doing nothing but playing on their computer. No, I've been working all day. And I stopped myself and went, hold on. Who does that belong to? How many people would go, you've been at work all day and they've done nothing all day. Surely they could at least cook dinner or bring the washing in. Or I was like, no, I've been playing all day. Yes, I get paid to play. So, and I thought to myself, so if I hadn't been working today, what would I have been doing? I'd probably have been cleaning the house. Yuck. I'd probably have been doing the gardening. Yuck. If I hadn't actually been working, my work is my play. So if you weren't creating your reality for you, what would you actually be doing? Stuff that you don't enjoy? And what is it showing your kids? To get ahead in life, you have to work hard, not enjoy anything, and, get to the end of the day grumpy. Wow. That's an invitation to a greater world, isn't it? Not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the reality I wanted to be teaching my children. I want them to know that, yes, I worked all day. And yes, I'd love some contribution in the house, but not from the fact that they've been lazy and I've been working, but from the fact that I'd like some contribution, please. And ask and all those sorts of things. So what is it that you desire? Gandhi always says, be the change you desire to see in the world. So what is the change that you desire to see, and would you be willing to be it?
Mm.
No matter who judges you, no matter what other people think of you, say that you should be doing, what is it you desire to create as your reality and invite your children to in the future?
Perfect. And that's, yeah, show up, guys. And don't be afraid of being judged, because the only person that is really the people that are going to suffer is you and your children if you care about what other people do and they judge you. I get some funny looks, but now I just don't care. And I just go, thank you. Obviously, you know, like I'm not hiding anymore. So, yes. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you guys got some awesome information. So Michelle, where can we find you if these guys want to look you up? Because we know you've got businesses and whatnot. You can be a huge contribution if people want to do more work on this.
Absolutely. Well, my access consciousness stuff I've got all on accessu.co.nz. And I've actually put together an email series on parenting if anybody's interested in that. It's a weekly email with a video with a new tool for you to play with for that week. So if you go to accessu.co.nz/easy parenting, and there's an email list that you can sign up there to get those tools, and it's a 10-week series. And I put them out once a week just so that you can play with each tool and actually really incorporate it into your life and see what changes and what it can contribute. So
thank you so much for the contribution that you are, honestly, because the thing is we need to learn this stuff. I've had to learn it. I'm still learning it. I mean, let's face it, it's the journey. But I think it's really good for us as we're parenting to be kind of getting through this together. So we want to hear about what you guys do and your awarenesses. So email, there's, reply to this email, or however you're receiving it. It may come in many shapes and forms. And let us know what your take from this video is, and also what you do. Because we are always open to knowing new tools and new tips and tricks on parenting. And it's all about sharing. So, yeah.
The other thing I would love to point out to people is there are millions of tools out there that you can use to create your parenting. There are books by the godzillion, and they're all just tools. How many men do you know that have a garage full of tools and never use them?
Exactly.
I think a lot of us are like that as well with regards to the tools that we've learned on how to parent. And it's about knowing which tool is going to work for you in any 10 seconds and being willing to use it. Sometimes timeout works, sometimes yelling at them works, sometimes telling them they can't have their dessert until they've emptied the dishwasher works. Being willing to have all those tools available and use them when they're the right ones. You wouldn't try and put a nail into a piece of wood with a saw. Well, you might. It could be an interesting and quite dangerous method. So play with the tools, see what they create, and then when it comes time, when you have this weird thought go through your head, you can go, oh, who did that belong to? Not mine. Okay, cool. Moving on.
And if you don't get it, if you feel like you're failing because it didn't work or whatever, who cares? Just get over it and just keep going. So I'm really abrupt, but at the end of the day, like I was sick of being judged, and I realized that I couldn't parent like normal, and people were like, wow, you're this, you're that, and then I was like, hang on a minute. So then I went on this huge journey, and I went, oh wow, and it opened up a completely new world for me. So my toolkit is full of random tools, but they're good.
So find the tools that work for you and use them. Finding the tools that work for you and then just putting them in the garage and going, I've got that tool. It's not going to create jack, really.
You've got to make sure you use them, definitely. Even if it's one and you just try it out when the situation comes up.
You think of it as you own an oven, but you eat raw food every day because you don't use the tool of the oven.
Exactly.
That's fun for you, but maybe it's not.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. We will catch you later, and thank you guys for joining, and yeah, have a lovely day.
My pleasure. Have fun.
Thanks, Michelle. See ya. Bye, guys.